allow you to ask any questions during the presentation. And so I do ask that you utilize that. If you have a question any point in the presentation, please use that. And there will be a designated time at the end for Q&A. For the benefit of seeing the ample screen, I do ask if you have the capability to put it in speaker view. That way you are able to view the presentation and have the person who is addressing at the moment. So again, welcome the wonderful Sadlier team, and I will now turn it over to Perla so that she can get us started this morning.
Good morning. I am really excited to be with you all today. My name is Perla Bonilla. I'm the Western Region Manager with Sadlier. We've got a great team here for you, but I just want to just thank you and appreciate you at this moment, because I know how challenging it is, the moment for all of us personally, as parents, as educators, as professionals. So we appreciate your time and attention. We hope to make it valuable. I want to introduce Ed Castillo, who's your local sales representative. Ed is based in Temecula, and he is at your service. He's done a wonderful job getting up to speed with Sadlier. He's just recently joined us, and so this event is usually held in person, and I've told him all about it, and so we're looking forward to the opportunity in the future where you'll be able to see him in person, and if not, then virtually. Ed, I'll hand it over to you for a quick moment.
Thank you, Perla. Good morning, everyone, and I'd like to thank everyone for attending. We're real excited to be able to showcase what Sadlier has to offer. And feel free to ask any questions, type them in the chat box, and I'll certainly get in touch with every single one of you at some point, either in the next couple of weeks or the next couple of months, just to follow up.
Thanks, Ed. The majority of our time will be spent with Kathy Hendricks, who is our National Catechetical Consultant, has been with Sadlier for many years. She's one of our authors. You may have read some of her other writings throughout her career, but we call her our local guru, although she is based in the West as Colorado right. will allow her to be. So Kathy, we're thrilled to have you with us. Thank you. I'll let you take it away, because I know we've got a quick hour to cover a lot of groundwork. So thanks for being with us. And right. You're in great hands with Kathy.
Thank you, Perla. Thank you, Ed, and thank you, Marioli, for allowing us to spend this time with you. As Perla said, I'm here in Colorado. I think if this was a live event, I would certainly welcome being out in San Diego with all of you. So given that we are in such challenging times, it seems appropriate to begin with prayer, of course. And recently I was asked to write a prayer to honor the feast of St. Joseph, who is the protector of families. And we know that many of our families are suffering great hardship right now. So let us turn to St. Joseph in prayer and ask for his intercession as we move into our time together. St. Joseph, you protected Mary and Jesus when violence overtook the land. Pray for all of those most at risk during this pandemic and during this time of social upheaval. Bless especially the elderly, those with underlying health issues, the poor, the homeless, and those with no one to care for or about them. May your example of courage and strength inspire us to be more cognizant of the common good and generous in our outreach to others. You attended to the needs of your family and remain steadfast in your faith. Pray for all of those who are responding so generously in providing for the physical, emotional, and spiritual needs of the local, national, and international community. May your model of fidelity fill us with the desire to spread kindness, consideration, hope, understanding, and compassion during this challenging and turbulent time. We ask your intercession so that we might draw together as a human family, ever aware of and grateful for the love and mercy of God. Amen. Well, as many of you know that are familiar with Sadlier and Sadlier materials, we've been in business for over 180 years and owned by the same family during that entire time. And Sadlier has always met the challenges of the times, something that we are continuing to do as parishes meet the challenges today of continuing faith formation during the COVID-19 pandemic. And we certainly are aware that so many of you are facing a lot of uncertainty as summer begins and your plans for fall are underway. So it seems like the most appropriate place for us to start in our time together is to share with you our newest program, Christ in Us. And it's an ideal way to begin, not only because it's our newest program, but also because it's providing a lot of innovative, adaptable, and practical ways to reach families in their homes, which we know that you are all trying to do at this point. One of the first things to know about Christ in Us is that it is a blended program, blending both digital components with print resources. And this has proved to be incredibly helpful at this time when we're doing a lot of at-home or what we call distance learning. So on the print side, we have a student book for both parish and school, a guide in print for both parish and school, and then an optional portfolio workbook, which I'll explain in just a minute. On the digital side, we have what we call portals, and in our digital platform, there are different resources for those of you who are catechetical leaders or principals, catechists and teachers, as well as for parents and for the students, which is just incredibly important right now. On that portal, there are family materials that will allow parents to completely teach their children at home or support the teaching that you are doing in your parish programs through something called a home guide that is used in conjunction with the student edition, either in print or as an ebook. And then every lesson has been adapted or includes an adaptation for inclusion in order to teach children with developmental disabilities or various learning preferences. Some of the materials are already available in both English and Spanish, but a full bilingual edition of Christ in Us will be available in fall of 2021. So we're hard at work on that. Just to give you a little overview of the structure of the program, Christ in Us is presented in 5 units. The first 4 units are based on the pillars of the Catechism of the Catholic Church. And this will be the same for all grades K through 6, that every unit, unit 1 will be based on the Creed and centered around an essential question, what do we believe? Unit 2 will center on liturgy and the sacraments and how do we celebrate what we believe. Unit 3, morality, how do we live what we believe? And then unit 4 on prayer, how do we become what we believe? The 5th unit includes all the lessons on the liturgical year. So those can be pulled out and used whenever it's appropriate to engage students in the celebration of our faith through our liturgy. It is a spiral program. And this spiral curriculum means that these 4 pillars and these essential questions are going to spiral throughout the curriculum for grades kindergarten up through grade 6. And so what that does is it builds on learning the essential faith and practices of the Catholic Church. As children grow in understanding, they deepen their experience and understanding of these truths. This also is a wonderful way to facilitate at-home learning, since children are going to be focusing on the same main ideas or essential questions in each unit and lesson. So just taking a look here at unit and lesson overview. Oops, I skipped a little too quickly there. This is a table of contents page from grade 5, and you see there at the top the unit with that essential question, what do we believe? The faith professed. And under that, the five core lessons, each with an essential question. How do we know God? Who is God? Why did God make us? Who is Jesus Christ? And what is the church? And that will thread through all of the different grade levels. Under the lesson description, you'll see a little cross there and a prayer. And if you kind of look at all the different lessons, you see the prayers vary from lesson to lesson as we are trying to introduce children to different forms of Christian prayer. Within each lesson, there are 4 main ideas or 4 faith statements which form the catechetical body of the lesson. That is followed by a lesson test, or one form of assessment called Show What You Know, and then a feature called Partners in Faith, which focuses on a different saint. There's different saints for every lesson, and the saints are different in every grade level. And then following that is another form of assessment, but also application of the lesson to the child's life called a mini task, and then an at-home connection. In addition to those partners in faith, those saints that appear in every grade, we have also tried to put some renewed focus on Catholic spirituality by assigning, if you will, a guide or spiritual guide for every grade level. So these saints and holy people will not only be featured as a partner in faith in the very first lesson, but they'll accompany the child and their family throughout the year and introduce them to different forms of Catholic spirituality. So for grade 2, that guide is Saint Therese of Lisieux. So not only do the students learn about her life, but also about her spiritual practice called the Little Way. In grade 5, the guide is Saint Ignatius Loyola. And so students will be introduced to aspects of Ignatian spirituality, including the examen and the spiritual exercises. Each unit begins, you'll see, this is again from grade 5, Unit 1, the faith professed based on the creed. So there's that essential question, what do we believe? And then the 5 lessons with those essential questions for each one. And a song. All of the songs are included in the portal. And then that illustration there, that lovely illustration of the Holy Family is linked to Lectio and Visio Divina prayer. So in every unit, one of those prayer experiences will be Lectio and Visio Divina. And then as you see, the unit prayer for grade 5 starts with a quote from St. Ignatius of Loyola. So that will happen in every unit. It's just an example of how he serves as a guide to the students as they move through the year in prayer. And at the very bottom, there are some questions around missionary discipleship, which is a core feature or anchoring point for Christ in us. In each lesson, the lessons begin with a step called encounter. You see that at the bottom of the page there, which includes an introduction to the lesson and the opening prayer, which is that little cross there indicates, that's called an icon, and it indicates a digital aspect of the program. So you don't have to figure out where all of these assets occur. They're going to be threaded through the program, and then it is up to the catechist or parent to decide how and when to use those digital assets. So for this lesson, it's instructing the catechist or the parent to go to the digital portal for Lectio and Visio Divina prayer. This is a lesson from grade 2, which is based on, it's centered around the topic of forgiveness. How do we celebrate what we believe? And based around the parable of the lost sheep. So the Visio Divina, as you see there, will be focused on that beautiful parable. And then the prayer resource, which is available online, it's also in the teacher or catechist guide, walks the leader through the experience of Lectio and Visio Divina. Then the first main idea is presented as we move into the second step in the process called accompany. And that first main idea, God loves and forgives us, draws the children into an understanding of what it means to be forgiven by God, and introduces them to the image of the shepherd. You'll see down there at the bottom a little video camera, which indicates another asset, a digital asset called Did You Know? And these are little videos that occur online. Here you see a screenshot of the portal for the students, and where the teacher will find that video. There are separate videos for every single lesson, and these have been made specifically for Sadlier's program. They're about 2 to 3 minutes in length, and the catechist or parent, they have the option of watching the video as part of the class or assigning it to the students prior to coming to class or watching it at home. So what I'm going to do is actually show you a video from the second grade lesson, which is on.
Did you know? In Jesus' time, shepherds worked all day and night watching their flock of sheep. They would take the flock to the pasture in the morning and protect them throughout the day. He would lead them to places where the sheep could find water. And if one wandered off, the shepherd would go find it. At night, the shepherd would bring his flock back to their pen and keep watch over them.
Okay, so I hope you can hear that all right. And so that little video, as you can see, it shows a little bit of gives a little context to the parable. Not many of us know shepherds personally, so it gives the children a little bit of a context. And as I said, it could be shown right as part of class or assigned either before or after. The accompany part of the lesson continues with another main idea. We think about our words, thoughts, and behaviors. And you'll see here that activities are included in the lesson. And then on the facing page, because this is second grade, children are preparing in most cases for the sacrament of reconciliation and the sacrament of First Eucharist. They are learning the act of contrition. And so you see here another digital asset, a little audio or little speaker, where the children not only learn the act of contrition by reading it, but also the option for a catechist to play the act of contrition, a little recording that is made in a child's voice who reads the prayer and then stops and invites the child to pray along as the prayer is repeated. I love this asset because I think it's a wonderful thing that the parents could just bring it up on their phone, and so families can use these kind of assets at home. And then at the top of the page, you see the faith word conscience, which is embedded in the text, so it has a sense of context. It's shown there in bold print, but also pulled out and defined, and then all of those faith words are gathered in the back of the book in a glossary, so that we are continuing to build a Catholic vocabulary of faith. The final 2 pages are called Witness, and this is where you find the Show What You Know assessment. This is both in the book and it's also available online for the students to do. And as catechists, you can track their progress and their answers to that. And then at the bottom of the page, there is a feature called Partners in Faith. And this is where we see the different saints, the models of faith in our faith, and the little heart icon indicates that there is another video, another short, maybe 2 to 3 minute video on that partner in faith. Again, the option to show that in class or to assign it prior to or after class. And then of course parents could certainly use that at home. And then the very last piece of the lesson is something called a mini task, which is another way to assess learning as well as applying the faith lesson to the child's life. And what they do in the mini task, in this particular case, the child creates a public service announcement around God's forgiveness and healing. They begin the task in their student books, and then you'll see there another digital asset, a little briefcase where they can go to their student portfolio and continue the activity. And by doing this online, there's two advantages to this. One is that they do it in their homes, and so very likely involve their families with this. And also the opportunity to be very creative in terms of pulling in videos or pictures or whatever they want to do to create that. And then you as the catechist can track their progress and make sure that they, you can assign this and make sure that they have completed it. And then at the back of the book, this is a little picture here of the mini task online. So you see it's a 4-step process where they review what they've done in the books. They make a plan for their video. They put it together and upload it, and then do a little reflection on the video after. At the back of each student book, we have also a number of very helpful resources. There is a source book containing all sorts of prayers. And in this case, this is grade 2, you'll see my Mass book. It's a little pull-out book. The younger grades have little pull-out books, which are very, very useful for getting them to learn prayers and learning how to participate at Mass. There is also something called a family companion, which is 4 extra pages of additional teaching material and resources as well as prayers. And then in grade 2, the grade 2 student book, because children are preparing for the sacraments of reconciliation and Eucharist, there is a sacramental preparation companion, which offers some catechesis on the sacraments as well as instructions on how to receive Holy Communion and how to receive the sacrament of reconciliation. So that's a look at the print books. I'll just stop here to see if we have any questions in the chat box about this before I move on.
Kathy, I've been taking a few questions as they've come up in the chat box.
Okay.
So I'll give anyone who has any questions to go a minute to type it in if you have anything at this point. But I'll just address the general audience on the 2 questions that have come up. The bilingual version of Christ in Us will be available in the fall of 2021. And by that, we mean all assets will be available bilingually. So you'll see, similar to our existing series where left hand is English, right hand is Spanish. That is the intent for Christ in Us bilingual version, but that will not be available until fall of 2021. There are parent resources that are available in Spanish to support this English version of Christ in Us. And Kathy will show you where to find those on the portal, or you'll see where those will be found.
Yes.
Within the existing series. So there are Spanish parent resources to support this series. The second question is more along the lines of the portal. So I'm just going to table that at the moment. So I just want to let you know that we know you want to see that, and Kathy will get to that in a few minutes. Yes. Once we get to the portal, but you'll be able to see those assets that she's referred to are at your fingertips and very easily found as she navigates to the portal. You will be able to see that. So I don't see any other questions in the chat box, Kathy. Okay. So I'll turn it back over to you.
Okay, and I know, people are very anxious to see the portal. I do want to tell you too, and Ed and Perla will both speak to pricing around this. I know you have a lot of questions about that. But when you buy the Christ in Us program, the digital assets are included with the price of the book. So you don't have to pay separate for that. So when you get, purchase Christ in Us, you will have access to the portal, and I'm basically going to go online now and walk you through a little bit of the portal. I'll log in here. All right, so this will bring you to the main page. There is so much to see on this, so that I'm going to only walk you through a few things, but I especially want to focus on materials for families and at-home learning, because that is such an important thing. But you can request a trial of the portal, and Ed will be able to give you some more information about that as we close out our presentation today. But over here on the left, there's a drop-down menu which will show you kind of at a glance some of the different tools that you have: lesson planning, portfolio, for both the instructor and the student, different assignments, and a messaging system that is just fabulous, because you can message all your students and their parents. And then
Kathy,
those of you who...
sorry,
Yes.
could I interrupt? Can everybody see what she's talking about? I don't see that. And we only see the login page.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yes.
Oh, let me see. Okay, are you seeing that now?
Oh, yes, much better. Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, and are you seeing the drop-down menu? Great, thank you, Mary Oli. I would just hurling along. Okay, so again, you can request you know, as a demo of this, so that you have a chance to go through the portal yourself. I'm going to click on a grade level here, a grade 2, since we've been looking at that. And you'll see right up here, there are different views. This is because the different roles that people will have different access to different assets. So right now, I'm in the administrator view. What I'm going to do is drop down here to the parent view, so that you'll see what the parents have access to. You can send messages to the parents through the message board. You can post that. They have access to a whole bunch of family, spirituality, and some getting started material, including how to use what we call the home guide. And I'll go in here to lesson 9, since that's what I've been using my slides. Right now, my view is showing the ebooks for both the school and the parish. And so that is an option to use ebooks, which is wonderful. You could go all digital with this program if you decided to, or blend it with the print books. But this is the feature that I want to highlight now, because I think this is so critical: a home guide. And what we did with the home guide is we took the catechist guide and we adapted it for the home. So we don't, you know, homes aren't the same thing as I'm going to bring this up a little bit so you can see it a little bit better. Homes are not the same as a classroom. So this is the way for parents to teach the lesson completely at home, if that's the model that you want to use. Or they can use it to review the lesson with the child. They use it in conjunction with the student book. So the opening starts with a background and overview of the lesson. And then, because this is a spiral program, it gives them instructions for how they might teach more than one child together, since their children will all be on those same essential questions at the same time. If I have a second grader and a fifth grader, I could talk to them together about this particular lesson. There is, in the lesson itself, there's a 3-step process. The first one being to prepare the lesson, which gives the parents some questions to consider, a little bit of background for them. How they might explore that essential question. And you'll see here under engage and accompany, and I really like this. It says you might want to break this into 4 parent-child conversations. Families, you know, even though they're at home right now, they don't have a lot of time. And I know that because my husband and I are helping take care of our little 2-year-old grandchild while her parents work, both work from home. And so this idea that they could break the lesson into smaller conversations makes it less intimidating for parents. And then there's Here's a glance at the media that is involved in this particular lesson. And again, all of those could be done or ignored. It doesn't really, it's up to the parent as to how they want to use that. And then the actual teaching of the lesson. This one showing the Lectio and Visio Divina prayer, some question prompts for conversation. And again, parents might just do the prayer as part of a family meal together, or at bedtime, or whenever it's convenient for them, and then divide up this lesson content when it works for them. Watching the video, you see it's all embedded here, so it walks them through the entire lesson, gives them an optional activity using materials that families would have at home, rather than things that they'd have to go out and buy. So it's a wonderful step-by-step process of going through the entire lesson, and then ending with a little family activity. I've also, as I've been working with this, and because I have got a lot of interest in and passion for family catechesis, one of the things that strikes me about this home guide is that in the condition that we're in right now, where parishes are trying to figure out how to teach children at home, perhaps you're doing Zoom calls with classes and your catechist, I would recommend that catechists actually use the home guide. They could certainly use it in conjunction with the catechist guide, but because it's written for the home, it would be a very easy resource to use. To teach a lesson to the children, and certainly adapt it for distance learning. Right now I'm going to go back and show you the instructor view and scroll down. Try not to go too fast so I don't give you vertigo by scrolling around too much. Here you see where the guides are online, and again, I'll just go into this very quickly, but you'll see similarities with the home guide. We'll reduce that a little bit so we can see. So there's some getting started background. There's a look at the faith words and the lesson goals, and then here is your adaptation for inclusion for the lesson. Some ideas to connect with families, as well as highlighting which of the 6 tasks of catechesis are going to be particularly prominent in this lesson. A look at the different media options you have for teaching the lesson. And then something I just love, this at-a-glance lesson planner, which gives you an estimation. This is in the parish guide, so it will give you an estimation of the time for an hour-long lesson. Depending on whether you use all of the digital assets or you choose to assign them. And then the materials that you will need for the lesson. For the school guide, this will give a day-by-day lesson plan. And then, of course, Sadlier's guides have always been so very helpful in walking the catechist through the lesson and showing them step-by-step how to teach the lesson. All right, so I'm gonna go back here. And just go down and show you the digital assets here. So here you have, for the catechist, some catechist formation for every lesson. Here are your prayer resources. Right here you have your digital assets with including some different activities. There's a beautiful literature connection here. We have books that are trade books that are children's books that are linked to each lesson, and a little teaching piece with that. Here you see the Did You Know video, and then there is a little activity to go with that video, as well as down here the Partners in Faith video and an activity to go with that. And these little blue dots are a pull-down screen where if you decide you're going to assign the video, it will generate an email in your message system reminding students to watch the video in this particular message to review it prior to the lesson. I just really love that. You can change that message, of course, but that's just kind of a stock one. I'm going to go back to the parent view again and just show you some of the resources that we have online for parents. So there's a whole bunch of prayers here, but as you scroll down, you'll see, as Perla said, some of the materials are already available in Spanish. And we have different ideas for rituals that you can celebrate at home. These are key to the different seasons of the liturgical year, and they're different for every grade level. So we're trying as much as we can to resource the parents around faith in their home in a way that fits families where they are and not where we think they ought to be. So that's just a very quick look at the portal for now. I just ask Ed or Perla if they have anything else that they would like me to highlight while I'm in this screen.
Yeah, nothing for me, Kathy. You're doing fine.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay. All right. Or if any questions, Perla, have come up.
I don't see any questions that have come in the chat box, so I'll give them just a second. We've gotten just one right now. Can you have multiple children on the portal?
Oh yes, absolutely. Yes, isn't that? Wouldn't you agree, Perla?
Yes, you can, and that's the intent. Is if you have on the parent's view, you'd be able to see all of the available grade level resources for your children.
Okay.
Kathy, while you were on that screen, could you show the student view? I think that was the only view that we
all right. Let me go back.
Missed. And then after the student view, if you could just show the way, maybe a quick view of the available reports so that we can show how you would be able to track that progress from different vantage points.
Okay, can you see the student view right now?
Yes.
Okay, so as you scroll down, you'll see the students don't have as many assets, but you can go in and see their portfolio. We'll go into grade. So you'll see this is tracking the mini tasks that they are doing, and then the catechist and the parent both have access to watching the progress. You know, has this been assigned? Has the student started it? When have they uploaded it and completed it? If you feel that you need to redo it because they didn't do, really didn't finish it. Or then once you have considered that they have completed it, then you assign them a little medal from one of these 6 tasks of catechesis medals. So it's really a nice feature that shows their progress. Okay. Students also have access to different resources, their faith words, some prayers and practices, and the Q&As from the books. Okay, so they're, and what else did you want to see, Perla?
The available reporting features so that you
can
monitor parent access, or if you're a pastor, if you're looking for some reports to show you how things are being accessed. I would only add on the student portfolio, that portfolio follows the student. So if you have multiple years of preparation, the portfolio from year 1 continues on with the student for year 2. So you'd have a complete portfolio for both years or for multiple years, as my daughter does.
Okay,
so
great.
This is the report features.
Yes. And you can see there's different reports, class assessment, scores, student tracking, how much use they're making of resources, etc. The nice thing here is if you're feeling like, oh man, this is a lot of, this is a lot of material that I'm not sure I'll even use. Nice thing is that there are little, I'm going to go back actually here to the library and show you that we have something called Christ in Us Companion. And these will be a series of videos that will show you the different, little tutorials around 10 minutes each that will show you different aspects of the portal. So, because I know I can watch somebody give a little, whole thing about how to use some digital online thing, and I'm lost by the time they're done. I mean, maybe I'm following it, but I'll forget it all. So this is always accessible to you if you just want to go in and learn how to use the reporting feature, for example, or the messaging, or for, a big question we get for administrators is how do we set up how do we register everybody? And the nice thing is that this is compatible with a lot of parish software programs, so that you can upload your classes or your registration materials right into the portal. Okay. Anything else,
Kathy,
Perla?
yes.
Yeah.
For parent view, does it show the answers or sample answers for all of the questions?
Does, I believe.
Yes.
Let me see here. I think so. I believe it does.
As I was reading through the example that you gave us, I know that it has the sample prompted questions, and then it does give you a guide as to what things you would be looking for in the answer. So it doesn't give you a verbatim, but it gives you a guide as to what the answer should be to address understanding. There are just a couple more questions, Kathy, before you move on. I know we want to stay on track. But this one, yes, pastors, DCMs, or catechists can send messages on the portals to students and families. It is a closed messaging system. So parents are copied on every message sent directly to students. And then vice versa, you would be able to respond within this closed environment. So there are, safe environment measures built in so that it's the closed system. The last question, Kathy, before you move on, does Christ in Us program have a separate resource for sacramental preparation, or is it only based on grade level?
The grade 2 sacramental, excuse me, the sacramental preparation companion, I like to clarify that it's catechesis around the sacrament, but it's, you could use it for sacramental preparation, certainly for those 2 sacraments, but it isn't a sacramental program. And I will show you a little peek at our sacramental program. And right now we are in the process of correlating Christ in Us with our sacramental program called Believe, Celebrate, Live, because sacramental preparation, of course, involves retreats and parent meetings and all sorts of things, as well as more dedicated catechesis around the sacraments of reconciliation, Eucharist, and confirmation. So I'll give you a little peek at that in a little bit. Anything else?
Before you move on, the last question is if there's a separate software required, and there is not. This is a web-based portal, so as long as there's internet access to get to this view, and then everything is available to be printed, and you also have the print materials to have a blended approach, but no separate software required. There are no other questions, Kathy. I'll swing it back to you.
Okay, great. I just want to point out that this is you can use this on tablets, you can use this on a computer, or you could even create an app yourself. We don't have an app right now for Christ in Us, but you could create an app that would take you right to these lessons. So it's very user-friendly for families. And right now, I think it's just a fabulous resource that is available right now for parishes where you can't gather people together. All right. So and then I want to share with you some additional resources for both We Believe's Catholic Identity and or Creemos, and possibilities for those of you who are using those programs for reaching families at home. And given the time that we have, I'm going to focus on two things. One is Sadlier Connect in the free resources that we have through Sadlier Connect, as well as Creemos, our bilingual program, and the app, which you can download. You know, if you go to an app store, you just download, search Sadlier Creemos, and you will, the app will come up. And then Sadlier Connect is available through religion.sadlierconnect.com. So I'll start with Sadlier Connect. This is a little bit of this is a screenshot of when you go to Sadlier Connect, you'll see a login. You don't need to log in to get these free resources. What you do is go down to this purple box. Is everybody able to see that? Number one, should check before I.
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, so you go to the purple box down in the bottom right-hand corner and hit Let's Go, and then you'll come to this kind of overview page, which has all these different entry points or links, and I want to focus on 4 of them that I think are particularly helpful right now for reaching families. One is the liturgical year. This again is available in both Spanish and in English, as well as the lives of the saints in Spanish and in English. If you're using, we believe, Catholic Identity, the different resources that are available there for K through 6, and then also We Live Our Faith, Catholic Identity, for grades 7 and 8. So just looking at the liturgical year resources, you know, our parishes for the most part are not able to gather for Mass. I know some parishes are opening up in different ways, but it's always vital to keep people in touch with the liturgical year. So on this liturgical year site, this is an interactive calendar that you just scroll around to whatever Sunday you're looking for and hit that, and it will take you right to this page, which will give you an overview. What I've got here is a little screenshot of next week, you know, this coming Sunday being the Feast of the Most Holy Trinity, and you'll see there a little hyperlink there that will take you right to the readings, as well as the readings for the rest of the week. And then when you go into this week's liturgy, I know this is kind of hard to read, but you'll see there all the readings, and there's a link in the actual reading that will take you to the USCCB site and to the readings themselves, to the lectionary. And then those are followed with reflections and discussion questions. I think right now this is a really valuable resource for engaging families in conversation around the liturgical year and the lectionary. And then you see at the bottom, it says proclaiming faith activities for primary grades, and there's also activities for intermediate grades. So it's a wonderful resource. You could also use it for catechist formation as well. And then our lives of the saints, they're all listed on by their feast days. So what I've done is pulled up the June saints for the June feast days. And tomorrow is the feast of St. Charles Lwanga. And so this will give you kind of a link into the saints. And what this includes is, this is a look at St. Charles's page here. It starts with something that the saint has said, or if there isn't a direct quote from the saint, something said about him, what the world was like, a sense of context around the time that the saint lived, a short bio, who the saint was, and then why that saint matters to us today. And then at the very bottom, there's links to both intermediate activities and primary activities. Again, this is great for families who would like to just follow the lives of the saints. I think this is especially important now. Look at how vital this is, given the violence that's going on around our country, and the inspiration of St. Charles Lwanga, standing up, for what is right and protecting others. And so this is the primary activity in which children can bring this into their own lives and look at how they can be empowered to live their lives of faith. And then another resource, if you are using We Believe, you know, what's amazing to me is all the years we've had We Believe and how many people still don't know how many wonderful resources that we have linked to We Believe. So when you go on to Sadlier Connect, you can go right into your grade level, go into your unit, and you will see lesson plan. I've collapsed all of this, but you'll see lesson planning guides and study guides. Students have access to all of this. There's activities that could be printed out. There's games and reproducible masters, prayers, and family resources. So wonderful resources that you can share now with your families and keep them engaged with the learning that their children are doing or hopefully continuing to do through the program. And then this is a look at the We Live Our Faith. Same sort of thing, the units, unit by unit, lesson by lesson resources. And of course, because these are 7th and 8th graders, we have a few more wonderful resources online, including the games, Latin Hall, which is very interesting, some wonderful things. So be sure to check this out on Sadlier Connect because there's just so many wonderful resources that can be accessed right now and shared with your family. And then Creamos, you can, as I said, upload the app on your phone. And the Creamos app, again, is something that I think many of our users aren't even maybe aware of, but it's almost all of our parents have phones. And so they have access to these wonderful resources on Creamos, the Creamos app. One of them is a feature in Creamos that has been so popular and so beautiful, called Keeping Our Traditions Alive, which focuses on traditions and saints from various Latin American countries. And this was such a popular feature that we've included an expanded variation in Christ in Us by featuring worldwide traditions that showcase the wealth of cultures in the Catholic Church. And this feature is available on the app for families to use and read together. And then this is just some screenshots of the app. When you go into the app, it will show you here the different grade levels, 1 through 6. And down at the bottom, you'll see you can toggle back and forth between English and Spanish. Then when you go into the app itself or into the grade level itself, it will take you chapter by chapter into the resources. And just one of the resources that I think is so valuable is this Catechesis at Home. Again, a way for parents to use the materials at home, or for you as catechists to use with families at home. And you'll see it's a day-by-day breakdown so that it doesn't have to be an hour-long lesson, which many families don't have the time for, but something they could do in shorter periods. Okay, so I just want to focus on that. And before I move on, I'll just check again with Perla to see if there's any questions before I give you a little peek at our sacramental program.
Just addressing the group, yes, the resources that Kathy showed for Lives of the Saints and Liturgical Year are available in both English and Spanish.
Yes.
And I just want to reiterate the religion.sadlierconnect.com resources in the purple box. Those are free. You don't need to be a Sadlier user. You don't need a username or password. And many of those resources are program agnostic. You don't need to be using a Sadlier program to take advantage of those. The Creemos specific app resources, those are specific to our Creemos curriculum, but there are some, as Kathy just highlighted, that you may be able to use currently under our new circumstances. So we just wanted to bring your attention to the available resources and however you see fit to be able to utilize those. So I will be, we'll hand it over. There's a couple of other questions coming in specific to sacrament. So I'll let you go through that first, Kathy, and then maybe we can circle
Okay.
back to some of the questions.
Sure. Okay. Thank you, Perla. And it is important to note that not only do you have access to these resources that are free as catechists or catechetical leaders or as Catholic school teachers, but that your parents do too. So be sure to share those websites with your parents. And then it was a great question about sacramental preparation. I have a great passion for sacramental preparation because I think it's such a wonderful way to reach families. Our sacramental program is called Believe, Celebrate, Live. It includes resources for First Eucharist, for First Reconciliation. Our Eucharist preparation and reconciliation program has separate materials for younger children, grade 2, and then for older children in grades 5 and 6. And so that has been by request, certainly, that we've provided that. That red book of confirmation, you'll see it says restored order. Some of our dioceses do use restored order. I know that you don't in San Diego. However, if you have children who are preparing for full initiation through the rite of Christian initiation, this book would be wonderful preparation for them. It's an additional resource then that's available to them. And there is an app for this program, Reconciliation and Eucharist, as well as for our confirmation program is for junior high, although I think it also would be workable for high school students as well. This program is based on liturgical catechesis, very much in line with that second pillar of the catechism, as well as the second task of catechesis, that we learn through about our liturgy through experiencing liturgy. And so we have also incorporated Lectio and Visio Divina as an approach to scripture in all of the lessons in the program. And then we've included how to celebrate inclusion and diversity, which is an incredibly important part of sacramental preparation. And again, providing resources to engage families with this. The way the program is structured, it's set up around a 3-step process called Believe, Celebrate, Live. Obviously, the titling of that. And so in the first part of the process, Believe, there is an opening reflection in terms of opening our hearts to God's love, and then an experience of Lectio and Visio Divina, which opens up into the lesson. There's 6 lessons in both reconciliation and Eucharist, as well as the junior high confirmation. And then the celebrate piece is actually the teaching around the sacrament and the sacramental rite. Oh, and I should say in the Believe section, there's also a short video that introduces the children to the lesson and to that aspect of sacramental celebration. And then the celebrate piece is really the body of the catechesis, catechetical lesson. And then live, how do we become what we celebrate? By bringing faith into our life, how we live as missionary disciples, and then it closes with actually a prayer ritual. So I'm going to pull up, let me just bring up my, I have to switch my microphone out so you can.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Let us.
Let us who?
Let us in.
You can think about baptism like the doorway into the church.
You just want to dance around.
Way back in the days of castles, they would use oils to anoint people. In baptism, you were anointed with oil as a sign that you were set apart as priest, prophet, and king.
We'll be with you as you learn and grow in your Catholic faith.
God's door is always open to everyone who wants to enter his home.
Okay, so I hope you could hear that. That's a little look at the video, one of the videos from the Eucharist program, which introduces them. It's a little bit, it's just a snippet. The video is a little bit longer than that. But you can see they're very lively. They're beautiful little videos made specifically for the program. And very exciting. And what I love about it is the children that appear in the videos also appear in the books. So you see them going to communion, you see them sitting with their family. And so they become a little bit of a companion to the child as they go through the program. The Eucharist and reconciliation programs have an at-home model that I, again, wanted to kind of highlight because of this particular time that we're in. So there's the use of the app. And you can see there in that chart what the children would use at home, the child's book. The videos are actually all on a DVD, and the music is also on a CD. And then there's options to buy these mass books or reconciliation and prayer books. But the parents would have access to what you'd provide for them are these Living at Faith homepages from the child's book, as well as what you see is this newsletter here, Living Our Faith at Home, which is, some very practical articles about how reconciliation, for example, works in the home. How do we forgive in the home, along with prayer resources. And so there's a way for parents. I know when I was worked in the Diocese of Colorado Springs as the director of religious education there, our sacramental policies required parent sessions. And that was our policy, that we had to have 2 or 3 parent sessions, as well as provide opportunities for parents to work with the child in the home. And then there were options for parishes to do catechesis in the parish as part of their gatherings, which most parishes did. So parent materials are very, very important to involve, not only involve parents in the preparation of children for the sacraments, but also it's a wonderful opportunity of evangelization to reach families who are very motivated to be involved with, particularly around First Communion. I'll just look briefly, and then there's also a wonderful ebook. This book is, hundreds, I think it's well over 100 pages, which has all sorts of resources in the ebook about including how to put together retreats and actual retreat outlines, parent meeting outlines, readiness materials, and how to plan for the different rituals. And then in confirmation, confirmation follows that same 3-step process: believe, celebrate, live. This is a look at the bilingual version of Believe, Celebrate, Live. And of course, it's more sophisticated for the older children. The videos are absolutely gorgeous, and all of the videos for confirmation are actually online. And then here you see a screenshot of some of the online resources that are available. So you've got, professional development sessions, and materials, as well as how to use Lexio and Visio Divina, and then all of the video resources that are available. So that's just a very quick look at Believe, Celebrate, Live. Perla and Ed can address how you could get samples of the program. And I know, Perla, you said there were some questions around sacramental preparation.
I'm going to follow up with Patrick, because I think those questions came in from Patrick. So maybe, Patrick, if you could type in the chat box if we addressed your question. His question was around a large number of children who have not received their sacraments. Do we have a program for preparing these older kids for First Communion, middle school as well? So I know that we covered our Believe, Celebrate, Live. We have a primary and an intermediate level. And then Kathy did mention our Believe, Celebrate, Live confirmation and restored order resources. So if that didn't answer your question, Patrick, maybe that's something that we can follow up with you individually, and Ed can follow up and see if we can't get you some more definitive samples.
And I will say, regarding that question, on that ebook for First Reconciliation and First Eucharist, there is information in there on how you would prepare children who have been away. They haven't had, any catechetical background or any catechetical experience prior to coming, and they're older. You don't want to give them a second grade book, so it will give you some information about how to do that and how to work with, do some catch-up catechesis. And we have some materials around catch-up catechesis for primary and older children as well.
I don't see any other questions, Kathy. I know we're getting close to, well, you've hit your 10-minute warning. We're 7 minutes past your 10-minute warning. So I don't see any other questions.
All right, well, I'm going to turn it over to you and Ed to talk a little bit about the material, pricing and any, some of these more pragmatic questions, and pull up our, as I'm doing that, as you're speaking, I just wanted to pull up our contact information so that you can stay connected with us as well, again, as those website addresses. So we have two websites, sadlier.com religion, which has a lot of webinar and other information, and then our Sadlier Connect. So Perla and Ed, I'll turn it over to you.
Hey, Perla, you want me to get started on the pricing? Or you?
Actually, I'm just going to mention this one thing because Kathy's got up on the screen. I believe this is part of the handouts Marioli would be able to share. But what we've done is just kind of condense all of our resources on one sheet, so you can see what catechetical programs, what faith development, what sacrament prep programs we have available, and what each of those corresponding digital resources might be. So some of these are, for purchase, obviously the ebooks and the print materials, and then some of these are found on our sadlierconnect.com site. So you'll see those websites listed towards the bottom of the screen. So I just want to make sure you're aware that we've compiled this specifically for this event. So it's just a quick glance at a glance what's available, and covers most of what we presented today. So I'll hand it over to you, Ed, because you're the man they want to talk to if they would like any follow-up samples or reviews. So I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, so Kathy, if you could just leave that screen on for all the different catechetical programs. So just know that you can receive samples of any of the books that you see. You can receive samples of the Catechist Guide as well as the student books. So just get in touch with me after the webinar, and I will certainly make arrangements to get them sent out to you as soon as possible. As far as pricing is concerned, I'm not really going to go into the pricing for any of the any of the sacrament programs or the faith development ones. And I can work with you individually on those. What I wanted to do is just mention the pricing on the catechetical programs, specifically Christ in Us, as well as the We Believe and the Creemos. For those of you who are current We Believe customers, you probably know that the print price is $19.99. Now, the Christ in Us is also the same price at $19.99, but it also includes the portal as well. And so all of those features that you saw in the first part of this webinar is all included in that $19.99 price. Now, if you want to go full digital with Christ in Us, you can also add an ebook currently priced at $1.99 per student for a 1-year license. And that pricing just ended on May 31st, but it just got extended to June 30th. So you have a full 30 days to decide on whether or not you want to include an ebook. And we also are offering that $1.99 price on the ebook for We Believe as well as Creemos. Okay, so all three of those, you can get the ebook for $1.99 per student for a 1-year license through the end of June. okay? And on top of that, we also extended our 80% off of shipping, which ended on Sunday. But since we have so many schools and parishes that are just getting back to the office and beginning to plan for the fall, we've extended that 80% off shipping costs through June 30th as well, which, you know, when you do the math, it's a pretty substantial savings off of shipping. Perla, did I miss anything on pricing?
I don't think so. I think we just want to make sure that, you know, if you're still making decisions or would like to take a closer look, you know, just reach out to Ed. I know we've announced those deadlines, but we certainly have some flexibility just based on the needs of each parish. So understanding we're all under new working conditions. So please just reach out and, you know, we're here to help. So Ed and I can figure out a way to get you what you need.
Okay, thanks, Perla. There's just a couple of other things that I wanted to mention before we open it up to the last few questions and close this out. Of course, you can always communicate with me through the email that you see on the website. I'm sorry, on the screen, or a phone call. Obviously, we can't meet in person yet, which is what we would normally want to do, but we will use as much technology as possible so that we can disseminate as much information and get it into your hands so that you can make the right decision. For those who are DCMs and DREs, if you haven't spoken with any of your coordinators or any of your key catechists or any of your parents, please do so now. I cover a wide territory. It's not just San Diego, so it includes San Bernardino as well as the states of Arizona and New Mexico. And I found that at the beginning of May, there were very few conversations that were being had. And it wasn't until just in the last 1 or 2 weeks that people started to go back into the office and start speaking with their key people about this. And so if you haven't had that conversation yet, do so, because you're going to get some really good feedback, and that's going to help you determine how to best use these resources and put together your plan for this coming fall. So that was the last thing that I wanted to, oh, I'm sorry, one other thing. If you are interested in Christ in Us, 2 things. There's, as Kathy had mentioned, there is a trial for the portal that's available, and you can get with me and I can get you set up with that. But there's also an additional webinar next week that if you feel that you need to see this again, or if there are some coordinators who didn't get a chance to sign up for this, or maybe some catechists that would like to see firsthand how this works, I'll get you the information on the webinar. There's 2 next week, and I believe it's on Tuesday and Thursday. And we'll get as many people in the loop as possible so that more people will have a better perspective and you can make a better informed decision. And so that's all I have, Perla.
Thanks, Ed. We've gotten just a couple of other questions. Marioli, are we still okay on time? I just want to do a quick check.
Yes, we're still good.
Okay, good. So we got one other question, and regarding our ability to provide an in-service to support training for catechists via Zoom. Absolutely. We're here to support just as we normally would provide in-services to support you. I would just highly encourage you, if you are making a selection, to do so as soon as you are able to, and also to schedule your date as soon as you are able to. As you can imagine, we are close to that tipping point of limitations on dates. So by no means are you not going to be able to schedule, but your preferred dates, the sooner the better. So if you've made a decision or are continuing with an existing series and you would like that type of support, please just reach out to Ed and we can begin scheduling that on calendars as appropriate. And then Kathy, I'm going to toss this back to you, although I think I know the answer. I'm going to leave it to you, my guru.
Okay.
Could you summarize one more time regarding a full online program emphasizing parents as the chief catechist for their children? Which are the best programs for this type of program for parents as catechists?
I think right now, Christ in Us is probably the most practical and effective. I love We Believe and worked very hard on the family resources for We Believe. But since that program was developed, many years ago, we have seen such a radical shift towards online resources. And I think not only with parents, but haven't we all learned how to Zoom and and stream and do all sorts of things we didn't think we could do? And I think when we first were floating the idea of Christ in Us, we had a lot of a little trepidation around it from some people saying, oh, I don't know whether our parish will have capability for this or whatever. And now what we're hearing is, no, we need these resources that are going to directly reach the home. I also think the inclusion of these assets with video, with audio resources, with online activities, they're reaching a wide variety of learning styles, and I would say family styles. Families watch things together, families talk together, families do things together. So Christ in Us, I think, really encapsulates that. And one thing I've been thinking a lot about over the past several days as we've watched all of this upset in our country, and over the past few months with the virus, we absolutely, as Catholics, need to emphasize our belief in the body of Christ. And so I'm really taken with the title of our program, Christ in Us, is that it's not just about having my relationship with Jesus, but my relationship with Jesus opening into our relationship with Jesus Christ. And I think Christ in Us is really attempting to do that in a very powerful way through those steps of encountering Christ, accompanying one another in our journey of faith, and then showing witness through our faith, especially through Catholic spirituality and our models of faith. So that's probably a very long answer to a short question, but that's the way I feel right now. I don't know, Perla, you said you had an answer to it, so maybe you want to add something here as well.
I would just agree. As a parent going through this distance learning environment, as a first-year catechist at St. Rose, I would agree. I think Christ in Us does a really nice way of giving you a very concise platform in which to push out information and make it very easy for parents to receive, take action, accompany their child, and very easily communicate back to their home catechist, home parish catechist. So I'd agree. I hope that answers your question, Patrick. We haven't received any other questions. I would just add on the asterisk for existing We Believe users. We do have other models available. I have included the link to our website in the chat box. If you go to our sadlier.com, it's our catalog or customer facing page. There's a lot of information there. But if you go to the We Believe landing page there, if you scroll down to the bottom, there is a blue section of boxes that say related resources. We do have a box called models, and so I would say that that is not as turnkey as what you'll see in Christ in Us, but there is a model guide that would allow you to format your existing resources and take a look at what that would look like in order to create that at-home model. Full disclosure, it's more cumbersome than what you just saw in Christ in Us, but we also want to make you aware of what is available so you can take a look and compare. In the interest of time, I'm going to make a call for any other questions. Or Marioli, I'm not sure if you're, if anyone would like to unmute instead of typing in their question at this time.
Sure, yes. So if you have
appreciate
any
your time.
questions before we sign off, please unmute yourself and ask away. We have about 10 minutes.
And I'll just, before, as people are formulating those questions, I do want to just add, Perla mentioned I've been with Sadlier for a long time. I started with Sadlier as a writer and consultant just before We Believe was developed. And I'd say 3 observations I have about Sadlier over this period of time. One is that Sadlier was a pioneer when it came to bilingual catechesis and has had a tremendous commitment to that all these years. And being a family-owned company, they've also had a tremendous commitment to families and have worked along with the development of resources that match where families are today. And when I say that, we take families where they are, not where we expect them to be. I think that's very important. We can put a lot of expectations on families, but they're dealing with a lot. And then thirdly, we never leave you just on your own. Perla and Ed both mentioned we're ready to in-service, so we can provide webinars, and right now, whatever we can do, we will do to help provide service for you. So just had to throw that in.
Thank you, Kathy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. All right, so no questions, everything's been answered. You've made some wonderful questions and I thank you for that. As you know, we've been recording the session, so after we conclude, you will receive an email with the recording and a summary of the questions that were posed in the chat. That way there's a reference to go back to, and if anything else comes up, you have the contact information for Ed and Perla and of course, Kathy there. But more than anything, if you have any technical questions or pricing questions, Ed is our representative here. So if there are no other questions, then I want to thank the Sadlier team for making time to be with us this morning and overall to explain in much deeper, in greater detail how we can utilize Sadlier curriculum, especially moving forward. We cannot continue the way we've done faith formation in the past. We have to have more innovative ways, and I think you've done a wonderful job in explaining how we can do that. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. So if there are no other questions, then we should close with prayer. If you don't mind, someone from the Sadlier team to allow us to convene again in prayer.
Sure. Well, let's turn in a special way our thoughts to all of those who are suffering in any way at this point in their lives as a result of the pandemic. As well as the violence and the uncertainty in our cities and towns throughout the country. And maybe I can just reiterate this prayer of intercession to Saint Joseph and turn to him as a model of faith when we are so fearful and anxious. So, beloved Saint Joseph, we ask your intercession so that we might draw together as a human family, ever aware of and grateful for the unending love and mercy of God. May God bless all of you, keep you safe and well, and thank you for all that you've done and are doing for our family of faith. Maybe we can pray together. Glory be to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit, as it was in the beginning, is now,
and ever shall be.
and ever shall be. Amen. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
God bless.
everyone. God bless you. And we will have all of this in just a few moments sent to you. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.